Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Shala and Anita here answering your questions. And I apologize. I didn't get the StreamYard live up until earlier today. I meant to do it a few days ago and just got lost in the shuffle. So here we are. There's a few of you. Hi, Ricky. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. So looks like Ricky already has a question posed. Are the crystals buried 6 miles underground in Arkansas active now, helping humans raise their own spiritual vibrations? What a great question.
Yeah. And I pulled right away on it when I saw it and I got root chakra. Woo, is
Oh,
that or base chakra as it's called here. And I love how that because it feels like and it looks like going to the center of the earth, right? Like and really just getting everything fired up and activated. It's like people talk about solar flare energy coming from up, but this feels like that balance below is being confirmed.
it really does. Well, and it's so interesting because I just finished doing a live with Tanya Narma from Adventures for Connection. I'll put the link below if you're watching this after our live so that you can go over and watch us. We're talking about the full moon energy and the solstice coming up here at the end of this week. And interestingly, what was brought up around that in conversation and what the cards were illustrating is that it's a lot about healing, interesting, root chakra. And I see crystals as being, they're earth medicine, right? They are very much connected to the mineral kingdom. Hi, Angela. Welcome. They're very much about that root chakra energy, as Anita is saying. What can you tell us about the card that you pulled there, Anita?
Well,
Other details about it?
it is from the chakra deck. So as I work with this, it's very often I'm reading people's energy systems with this deck. But when we go out further to our Mother Earth or Gaia that we are living on, it's so often when the root chakra comes up, it's like that. Let's build a new foundation. This is strengthening existing work and energy that's been put in, but this is also um, it feels like what they're adding for me is that it's an expansion piece. There's so much around time and space and energy that we haven't yet experienced in our lifetimes. And so we're
Yes.
really stretching and working it and feeling it differently and pushing past the programmed illusions of this is our limitation and really branching out. And we need to work our whole system, but the root chakra, the base is our base. It's our foundation. We start from
Mhm.
there and everything is connected. Every aspect is important, but to have a strong foundation is very powerful. So to hear about this, because I wasn't aware of this, and hear about crystals under Arkansas, that just makes so much sense and feels like, oh yeah, to have energy coming from all areas to nurture us. And my spiritual mentor growing up used to talk about the the journeys he would go on to put crystals in the earth in different
Oh,
places. And
yeah.
I was younger, so I didn't really ask about the details of it, but it really feels like that's connecting with the work that has been done throughout time, but the strong spiritual work that comes through with this. So yeah,
Wow. So
cool.
interesting when you say that. Here's the journey card as the
Oh
answer to
yeah.
what do we need to know about the crystals being activated. Well, and the activator card in the present. So we've got in the past, 5 of Pentacles, a little bit disconnected, shut down, definitely activated now and going into the month of August, increasing is what I'm getting over the next 3 to 5 months. And very curious what Anita is saying about, people placing crystals on the earth in different locations and being called to move rocks around. Rocks are, well, I mean, they are some of the most ancient aspects of what is in matter on this earth. They carry so much medicine, wisdom, memory. so much of our shared history is in that mineral element, right? And what I'm being shown, because the journey card is, what do we need to know about those crystals buried beneath the ground? I'm wondering if people making pilgrimages over the land will have, I'm hearing that it helps to not only stimulate the pineal gland, but it also helps to de-stress the adrenal system. So that's what I feel the crystals are being kind of programmed energetically. They've been programmed to support us healing the adrenal system, which is a lot of what keeps us on that kind of hamster wheel, monkey, and going around and around, right? Like just feeling. So this is one of the things people talk about. You go put your feet in the sand, and the silica of the crystals of sand, molecules of sand, will actually take the stress out of your body. If you stand there for 15 minutes in your bare feet, it will de-stress. And same with those crystals in Arkansas. And what I'm hearing is that it would be a great time this summer, when they're going to be very active, to make a pilgrimage there and to walk over the land. And if you want to bring a stone from your area and leave a little offering, that could be a really nice thing to do as well.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, lots of people coming on now. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Eagle. Okay, so where's our next question?
Water in Calgary. I saw Dawn posted in all caps, and that is a very important issue, connecting with farming and also with the U.S.
Let's have a look at that. What do we need to know? We just talked about that. Again, I'll put a link to my conversation with Tanya and Norma from Adventures for Connection, and just a shout out to them that we are doing an amazing trip. I'm going to be in person on this retreat. It's a healing retreat, and it's at a very sacred location called the Center of the Universe, which is Vidette Lake, just outside of where I live here in Kamloops. And we're doing a 3-day retreat in July over the weekend of the 19th. So more about that. I'm going to bring them on to talk about that next week for a special live presentation. And I'm also sending a mail out with invitations for all of you to find out more about that.
Wow.
And while we're at it, I want to remind everyone that the sale, the summer sale, comes to an end at the end of this month, at the end of June. And please check the link below. You can use this coupon code Anita25 to get 25% off a session with Anita. And is she worth it? I'm hearing great reviews coming in from people that have had sessions with you, Anita. And I'm just so delighted that you're sharing your talent and your wisdom and your beautiful healing medicine with our community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been such an honor to work with the people that have booked so far. And some people I've even seen multiple times already. And it's so amazing to build relationship and, work through the energy, maybe some challenges, but it's also, I'm having so much fun connecting with all of you. So it's so amazing. Thank you, Ashala.
Well, you're very welcome, Anita. And it is truly an honor and a pleasure to meet all of you, people all over North America, and even some in different parts of the world who are awake, conscious. I was just telling my other daughter, had a conversation with her earlier in the week, and I said, what's so extraordinary is that the people that have been coming to me for a while and the new people that are coming to me now for readings and coming on to our shows, it's like their level of courage and self-actualization and willingness to work on themselves and just continue to, evolve and take the high road is so inspiring to me. And I wish that I could just let you all see each other for a minute and be like, You know, you meet these
Yes,
people, you're like, oh my gosh. And then everybody's going, I'm the only one in my community.
yes,
No one
yes.
else. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just talked to like 10 people in the last 2 days that are maybe not even that far away from you. And I had the idea a few years back at the beginning of the, you know what, I had the idea about doing a sort of like a online database where everybody could connect. And I sort of got it off the ground and it didn't really go very far, but I'd be open to looking at doing something like that again, because it's just, yeah, I want you all to meet each other. You're
Yeah.
amazing people.
And we're all looking for our tribe, or we're expanding our tribe. So that is just, yeah, lovely, lovely to be able to think of how we can connect more.
Truly. Okay, question from Dawn about water. And the reason I started talking about Adventures for Connection, we talked in our live that we just did earlier about how this particular full moon in the sun is in the sign of Cancer, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn, and it is a lot about regulating the waters on the planet. And we talked also about collective grief and how grief is basically, I want to say it's the gatekeeper to our soul. So we, in essence, we need to go through our grieving and really embrace it, not just look at it like an annoying thing that has to get done and over with, but really allow ourselves to be deeply moved and healed through our grieving, through our grief. And that allows us to access our soul's fullest potential. And the waters moving on the planet right now are doing the same thing. It's like the waters are moving, cleansing, purifying, healing, allowing our grief to move through us. So, in a way, that could be seen as part of the blessing of what's happening with a lot of the flooding in different locations on the planet right now. But let's just look at it more pragmatically. Did you pull
Well,
a card on it already, Anita?
I did pull some, but with what you're saying, it feels like it connects with the crystals and the minerals that we were already talking about, where there's
Mm.
so much energy stored in the elements on Earth, but crystals and stones in particular, and water is more the flow, again, the flow of the emotions. You're talking about grief, and it allows things to move through us so we can release it as needed, and as we can get
Mhm.
nurtured back from it. So there's yeah, there's so much that's connecting here with what we're um experiencing, and that is very practical, even though it's so big picture, when we're always looking for help, but what can I do at this moment, at this time? And grounding and connecting with the earth, but also connecting with water, even if it's a bath and a shower if you don't have a bath, but really being mindful of where you can make these connections, holding a crystal in your hand, and showering or putting it in your bath. If you have a bath, you can put your crystals in there and bathe, and you're getting all the
Mhm.
elements working together. Yeah, light a
Beautiful.
candle, and yeah. So I agree with what you're saying about how the movement of the water can really be meaningful, and especially how it's been asked. You know what it's their underlying meaning and messages, and yes, it's cleansing.
It's
So you're seeing it with the grief, and it's what I'm being shown is cleansing, so we can get back to our fullness, back
Mhm.
to um, making everything beautiful. There's an aesthetic piece, and I'm also being shown that's seeing with new eyes, that we get the benefit
Mhm.
of that, really clearing and cleansing, um, and that there's a lot of misinformation out there around it. I got at the same time.
Mm. Did
So
you do you wanna
yeah.
show us the card that you pulled, Anita? What card did
Well,
you?
I can show them, but I really, even though these cards are almost like just there's blunt reading of the cards, and then there's like direct, or sorry, blunt is more direct, and then there's just getting an energetic imprint from it. So that making everything more beautiful. It's 10 of Pentacles in this deck, or Archangel Ariel, that abundance, like the abundance of water showing, and that it's cleansing and making things
Oh, yeah.
beautiful. And then the block was actually divine guidance. So it's like what things that we might feel as trusted information can potentially not be, because that's a block to um,
Oh, okay.
how we're perceiving and what's being told and the stories that we see. It's hard to know what's going on in the world without going to mainstream media. So we know that there's a lot of fabrication in mainstream media and programming around it, but um, and so then, yeah, that's very often for us to even know there's flooding happening. That's how we're finding out, even if we're not sitting down and watching the news, but it might come up as a pop up on our phone or something we hear on the radio. And it is good to know, be aware of what's going on, but at the same time, going, what part of the picture is not being told to us at this time? Yes, the
Mhm.
waters are flowing, but what are the circumstances? There's a lot of things and that's what's showing as
Yeah.
there's some things that are being hidden, and at this moment they're showing me on both sides. In other words, that there's a dark agenda, but there's also a white hat agenda that it's not for everyone to know, because
Mhm.
it's a lot of covert missions going on. um,
Mhm.
so then pushing through and finishing up with what I pulled, it two of swords. There's a better way. And so
Mhm.
it just feels like a better way of thinking about things, a better way of looking at things, a better way of um, framing what we're experiencing, and
Mhm.
process it through our own bodies. Let's all get our own bodies really strengthened and fired up. So as we're building our discernment, we're processing everything through our systems and connecting with what we've already
Mhm.
been saying about,
Mhm.
along with the elements of the earth, as we
Mhm.
become the superheroes we've always been meant to be.
Well, yes, thank you, Anita. Thank you for that. And it's almost like we're like approaching things either from concern or fear
Mhm.
or anxiety or, heaven forbid, paranoia
Yeah.
versus curiosity.
Mm,
And if we can come at this with a bit of curiosity and be like,
mm,
even if, to some extent, a lot of these troublesome events have their origin in some sort of, dark force energy, whether it be a lot of fear that's gathered, a lot of grief and trauma that's buried on this planet that needs release,
mm,
or if it's weather manipulation or the whatever the dark agenda side of it is, can we see that it's going to have some sort of significance on the light side?
mm,
And we wonder which created which. Like this is what I often say. It's like we focus over there on the dark and we're like, oh no, it's getting worse, it's getting bigger, oh no, and yet if we can see that, if we allow ourselves to focus on the light and say, and when I say light, what I mean is there's things are happening for a reason,
mm.
and there may be a lot of benefit that we glean from going through these things collectively. Interesting. Are you finished your poll there,
Yes,
Anita?
yes, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. So what I get is interesting. There's that sign of this Queen of Cups actually
Mm,
represents the sign of Cancer.
mhm,
In fact, you can even see a crab somewhere on her cloak or something. Oh, it's the crab claws on the vessel that she's holding.
mm, mm,
And so she represents the sign of Cancer, which is where we're moving. The sun is moving into the sign of Cancer, which is a water sign.
mm,
And she is very much controlling the flow, almost like releasing the
mhm,
emotion, controlling the release of the flow of water. If we need a lot of water, a lot is getting released. If
mm,
we need to hold back and have other elements present, then she pauses. So right now, we're things are flowing.
mm,
And it means that we want to be in a flowing state of heart and out of a rigid state of mind. So allow your feelings to flow with the water and trust the elements. So you can say, yeah, well, I don't really trust the elements if my basement is flooded and,
Mm.
the whole neighborhood is down and the power is out and like the equipment can't work on a farm because everything's so mucky. And it's like interesting to me, so many of the things that are happening are presenting with us with opportunities to change aspects of our lives. And even for the farmers, what I'm getting is that, there may even be a need to change some of the farming methods. And it's interesting that there's been so much focus in North America around climate change, global warming, droughts, wildfires. And it's like, so far this spring and going into summer, it's wet, it's colder than average. And it's sort of like, starts to, in a way, I almost want to say it's ringing those suspicion bells for a lot of us. Even the people who are on the other side, on a more woke side, and are really, completely concerned about global warming, which, by the way, to me is a huge topic. I would love to get into talking about at some point the whole way that these narratives have been spun through the media over the last couple of hundred years. It's just phenomenal. First, it was we were going into an ice age. Then it was we were going into, global warming. Then we're going into an ice age. Then we're going into greenhouse effect. It's actually, they've been running counter narratives about every 50 years for the last 200 years.
Oh, I saw an interview with the founder of the Weather Network, Weather Channel, Weather Network, and he was just like, "Oh, it's all manipulated." Like he's just like, we just decide and create, and then they give us what to say, the talking points.
I mean, we talk about, like, look through history. There's drought. There's 7 years of drought. This is talked about in the Bible. Like, it's normal that droughts happen, flooding seasons happen. This is the planet we live on. It has cycles. It has cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. And yes, a lot of our practices are not helping the overall environment, and its stabilizing forces is getting thrown out of whack. So the cycles get really thrown off and maybe become more extreme in certain ways. But we also have learned so much. We have so much at our fingertips in terms of different approaches. So different approaches to housing, different approaches to farming. And I feel like a lot of what's happening in the weather, instead of making us either angry that they're doing weather manipulation or afraid that we're going to be underwater or, earthquakes or fires or whatever, let's get curious about what we can do with what we know now that our ancestors even 100 years ago didn't know. They didn't know about hydroponic farming and regenerative agriculture and all these practices that we have now that are, in a way, they're not even high tech. Some of them are pretty low tech. So there's just so much innovation that we have at our fingertips, and be curious. So here's this flowing water queen. And then the answer, what do we need to know, is so innocent. Come at this like a child. If something is outdated, allow the water to, move it along and get curious about what might be coming in to replace that and how you could be involved in that. I'm just going to pull a past, a present.
I just love that the Six of Cups came, because it's so true. Children have the answers, as we all did as we were children. We came in with those inner knowings and the ability to see so much and see things for what they are. And then we, as we've talked about before, we institutionalize it out of the kids. No, follow what the adults are doing. Don't, but to return to more divergent thinking and getting really creative and how we're looking at things is like amazing. Like let's sit with children and look at what their answers are, what their solutions are for these things.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yes, and Anita, you've studied children and
Yeah.
worked with the
Yes,
children. This
I
is your
do have a degree in early childhood education and have worked with children and done research with children, and it is amazing what is flowing through kids when it's encouraged.
yes.
Um, and then you see the light slowly go out, unfortunately, and I
Mm,
am so looking forward to what that shifting for children and for all of us. Um, the honor of spending time with children instead of it being, because a lot of us are reactive to the fact that they're so in touch with their emotions that people are like, ah,
mhm,
that's not relaxing. And it's like, okay, maybe a time and place for some people, not when you're trying to relax or something. There is a balance, but just in general, there's so much energy that comes in with even right from a baby, and
mhm,
that it just flows through. And if we start working with them with that energy, we're not only encouraging that growth and creating amazing future adults, but like,
mhm,
or encouraging and working with them and helping them, they feel they feel that honoring back when we collaborate with them instead of like we're the experts, we're the adults, and we can. There's something to having wisdom and of experience, but the new energy that they're bringing in, it's like it helps us see new with new, and that's what's coming through a lot today, and it has this week, that we are seeing with new eyes and our senses are shifting. We
mm,
need this that help of the innocence that you were saying that.
innocence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we often feel, I've heard a lot of narrative around, gosh, what a terrible mess we've left for the next generations. And we feel so, discouraged and disappointed in what they have to face. And so interesting, what I'm being shown is that we forget that they are being born with the wisdom and the solutions to continue the transformation, the ascension, the healing process.
Mm,
Look at what we've done, people like us. I mean, like I said, I've met many of you and I'm just blown away by the quality of people, of beings that you are. And it's like, look what we've lived through. Look what we've transformed in terms of our ideology, our beliefs, our values, our emotional well-being, our personal integrity and life purpose and all that stuff. It's like, imagine what this next generation, even with a little, we had not very much encouragement, a lot of us, right? We had the opposite. We had like, children should be seen and not heard. Like,
mm,
off to your corner, you naughty little being,
yeah.
right? It's
Stop
like,
throwing my truth in my face. I don't want to hear it.
so it's like, what's it going to be like? And that this generation, they're not going to rescue the world. They're not going to you know, they're going to take the torch and go the next lap, and their wisdom and emotional intelligence is exactly what's going to be needed. It's interesting you're talking about, teaching them and being the experts. And if you ever think about the wisdom of the elder, like a true wise elder never teaches like data and information. Everything is done through stories.
Mm,
Everything is gets them asking questions and being curious and discovering answers on their own. It's all about gentle guidance of that energy, right? Gentle
mm,
guidance of that energy. So we're talking about water. We're talking about the movement of water on the planet, and that there's a lot of chaotic movement and what seems like out of control water. And yet we've got these beautiful cards about things coming into a new version. We've got 2 6s here. 6s are harmony,
mm,
synergy, cooperation. So there's something that the building of the water moving is bringing us into a new frequency around how to build our houses, how to live on the earth, how to do farming practices. And, you know, I think we like even I'm thinking about things like culverts and storm drains and asphalt pavement. I mean, we've known since, you know, since the 70s with that, you know, put up a parking lot, tear down the trees and put whatever that
Oh,
song. You know? It's
yeah.
like we've
And that,
known it's too much asphalt, too much cement, too much concrete, and it's just becomes these rivers of chaos in a city system, right? A silly city system. Whereas when you look at traditional, I almost want to say like the energy of feng shui, where water moves like this. It doesn't run down these straight culverts and into these storm drains and flood everywhere. It goes meandering, and it slowly, you know, creeks and rivers naturally form so that they can handle larger volumes of water. And it's mostly in the places where we've messed with that natural ebb and flow with the natural feng shui that we get these terrible crises of floods and damage as a result. So I get that this is allowing us to redesign, reimagine, Page of Wands, and redesign, put into repurpose how we work with water as well. You know, we're going into the age of Aquarius, 2,500 years, starting probably in the 60s or at least around the 2000 or 2012 mark. We're not exactly sure when it entirely began, but it's going on for 2,500 years, the age of Aquarius. It's the water bearer. So we're going to be working with water for 2,500 years into the future. And these little kids that are coming are some of the first little engineers doing new stuff. So much more intelligent, so much more so much wiser, and partially because they have to, because those old things aren't working anymore. So it's a good thing, Dawn. It's not just something to be afraid of. There's really good reasons why this is happening.
Yes, and necessity is the mother of invention, right? So just what you're saying there.
Yes, it surely is.
Especially when we want to stay in our comfortable bubbles and be like, no, no more else. And it's like, yeah, if you need to be triggered to start paying attention and not being in our sleepy old cycles, this is what it takes. Look over here, and check in with yourself. How does that make you feel? What's going on? You know, instead of just being like, oh, it's all out there. No, inside job. Let's do our inner work so that we're in flow with everything that's going on.
Totally, dear. I'm just looking over to see if I can find some new questions. Any new questions up there yet?
There was above that, there was High Eagle 69 said, will we have full disclosure on our galactic family this summer?
Oof, good question.
Something where that's such a beautiful vision. I feel so many of us hold, and we know will arrive, but is it going to be when you say full disclosure, is it going to be a big moment like that, or is it going to continue to have little drips as we have been having for years already? Yeah, sometimes it just takes us a little time to reflect on, oh yeah, actually that is new information, and that wasn't known before. And oh, thank you, Galactics. Thank you. Different, really, I love the perspective of it's us. It's just we're all on different frequency and dimensions. So sometimes literally us, if all time is existing at once, that it's our higher self from other dimensions that we see in lovely, and we see in lovely high energy. So it looks like an angel. There's a glow, and we've put words to it, but
okay, you pull. I want to see what you pull.
Well, right away I pulled heart chakra
Okay.
and building trustworthy, like a community, trustworthy friends was coming up. So, and then I pulled connection, and it looks like, so it's interesting that this is bringing us back to heart says to me, go
Yep.
inside again and check
Yep.
with our own
Yep.
inner vessel, and then the rest is now taking us to building community. So that
Wow.
that feels like we are the ones we've been waiting for. Here we look
Yeah.
out, oh, Galactic's out there, and it's like, hmm, maybe it's already in here.
Yeah.
Galactic energy right here.
Yes. Gosh. So much wisdom in that.
Mm.
Really. I mean, okay, where do I even begin with this
Oh,
layout? Um,
powerful.
just as I was shuffling and thinking about it, I started getting this vision of, I was like, what would my higher self ideally want this to look like? Like, and I know from hearing different channels that channel off-world advisors, they often say that there, even though many of us are very curious, it's almost like a certain type of spiritual bypassing in a way, like Anita was saying, like we're going out there, we're like, I want them to come and rescue us. I want, they know more, right? They're smarter than us, they're better than us, they're higher evolved, they're on a higher frequency, so they must be better. We're just these lowly earthbound creatures, right? And so I think there's some metaphysical distortion going on where we don't recognize that they are in a different frequency range and not necessarily in 3D on this planet at this moment the way we are, and they may be able to see and perceive things with a little less distortion because they don't have all the compromises that 3D presents us with. But we also have access to frequency, elemental frequency, and emotional frequency that once you move out dimensionally is harder and harder to connect with. So often the intelligent, compassionate, wise off-worlders say there's too much trauma that would be initiated with some kind of mass disclosing event. And therefore, they are not in approval. Galactic Council is not in approval of that kind of an event, especially in the parameter of the social political power dominant system that we still live in. So how easy would it be to manipulate under the current paradigm that still is going to take some time to dismantle? Like, just think about it. So I say, be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we want disclosure, and we want those narratives that have been kept secret for a long time to be revealed. I agree with Anita. I feel like this is like the hermit at the center here. This is a personal one-on-one. I would love my meetings with off-worlders to be very personalized. I'd like to meet the ones that are in alignment with the greatest evolutionary potential of my soul to show up at a time when I'm really ready to receive that guidance and that reciprocal relationship, and that I'm not bowing down to them, that they're better than me. They just have certain perspectives that I would benefit from receiving. I also have tremendous, potent gifts of heart medicine, Anita.
Mm-hmm.
which we're going to talk about here in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a presentation on heart math that is something that Anita is well versed and practiced in. And this is a very human skill and ability to have emotion and heart-centered connection. So I say, let's request personalized disclosure first. You know, like, why not make some off-world friends first?
I feel it's already happening. I feel like that is us when we're really in alignment and where our intuition's on fire. Us even doing this reading right now. Yeah, like it's already, there's already that presence within us. It's just discerning between what's been programmed into us and told to us repeatedly, and like so much like the movie The Matrix, right? Like it's such an illusion that we've been sold on and completely bought into. And so to shed that, it's like, oh, remembering who we are, things that have always been within us, and even little secrets that the archangels share is like, we might be known as the on high, but you guys are just as powerful, if not more, when you realize who you are, because they've gifted their gifts within us as well. We are the result of a collaboration between many high energy frequencies. So when we remember who we are, we get to uplift into that archangel role ourselves. But it's one step at a time. Inner development, even that sends out a ripple effect to how we perceive everything and how people perceive us when we hold that energy.
Yeah, I mean, the guides are saying basically, do we need any more power dominant models or authorities to have dominion over us? Do we need a single another one? No. Like, so get the pedestal. This is the pedestal that we put them on. Let's dismantle that pedestal, because you can't form a healthy, it's like having a relationship here in this realm. You can't have a healthy relationship when you put someone on a pedestal. It's going to be a power dynamic right from the get-go, right? It's not heart-centered. They don't want us to put them on a pedestal, because then we're just this role model icon that can be torn down when they don't do or say what we think they should have, or, you know, they make a mistake, heaven forbid, right? Off-worlders would never make a mistake because they're perfect, right? And we're the imperfect ones. Where did that narrative come from?
Right. And this is feeling like it's connecting back into what the energy of what children bring in, where they're trained, institutionalized to think that they don't have wisdom, that they don't have the awareness, because it really comes down to children are taught not to trust their senses, because they will literally be sensing it. It's like, how's that possible? They any idea about war or economic systems, and they're like, that just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't. It doesn't.
No.
The system that we're in does not make sense.
No.
Adults rationalize it and try to twist it all up, but kids know. Once they start learning about it, they're like, that doesn't make sense. That's not the way. That's not natural law. And what do you have?
Very much, you know, for some reason, I don't know why, but I'm hearing two words. I'm hearing greed and I'm hearing grief. And those two things are still so prevalent. Like, the grief is something, I almost feel like we're going to turn the grief into the medicine of gratitude. We're going to come through grief and realize that it's about connection. It's about soul connection is what grief. And the reason it's so blocked and like congested for us is because we've been disconnected from soul for so long. So we have to go back through all that blocked energy to re-access our hearts, to re-access soul. But once we get there, grief will not feel like this horrible, traumatic, devastating, awful thing. It'll be like the beauty of love, the beauty of something you love that much that you care whether it lives or dies. Like, it's the gratitude that goes along with loss or change. We're grieving every day. We're grieving. Another day has gone by, another day on this precious planet, one less day that we get to have here, right? It's like and then it becomes the gratitude practice. You wake up every morning and say, thank you for another day. Like, so they're two sides of the same coin. And what I'm hearing is greed and grief are still two black and white, polarized 3D, locked in for massive disclosure at this time. And in a way, it's like we're looking for a shortcut to wake people up. But that's, in a way, saying we don't trust that it's happening without that. And I trust it is. I mean, I see evidence of it all around. I look for evidence of it, and I see it everywhere.
Yeah, and I agreed, Ashala. Same. When we do our research and look past the mainstream narratives, we can find a lot of information out there. In fact, you can find pros and cons about every argument out there that are scientific and well researched. So isn't that interesting when, mainstream talks about scientific research that's one lane, when there are counter arguments to the same things that they're spouting off about. So again, it gets back to inside job. Oh, yeah.
It's just on the bottom. Inside job. It's the card of the inside job, really, the star.
Yeah.
The star. So I love this energy of imagining that exactly what you said at the beginning, Anita, that we are actually, this is past and future versions of us that we're connecting with. And so, and this is interesting because we have the 7 stars, the 7 sisters, the Pleiades. And I often see this star card as related to our star nation ancestors and descendants. And if we can see them as part of our family, like we came from them and they're coming back to us from the future as well. So it's this timeless place, interdimensional timeless place where, all timelines converge and we get to have, it's just, again, other versions of us. Right? So yeah, go ahead.
Or just as we touched on last week with Aboriginal people in Australia, they call it now time. They work in the dream time, but now all time is now time. We're all working together right now. And now. Like these are because this is where our attention and our energy is. And that is why it's so great when we can hold focus on that. And yes, we can have our moments when we're zenning out or allowing some distractions, but then curbing the distractions and getting back to that focus, to this now moment. What can I do with this glorious now moment? Like you're saying, waking up in the morning, another day, I get another day here and what am I going to do with it? How good can it get? How excited can we get about what we can create now? Because it's like planting seeds, that energy grows. That is because we are creating the new earth every day with this energy that we're putting forth, where instead of sitting back and waiting, this is no way a critique about asking these questions. We ask those questions too. It's like, come on, hurry up with this closure. I don't want any more people to get poisoned. I am getting messages. Every child I see right now, I'm getting shown, it's like they're in mourning for how much they've been poisoned already. And it's just so heart squeezing. I don't want to say breaking, because um, I'm mindful of language. I'm not overly stuck, but it just it feels like oof, and I just feel like in response when I feel like that energy's taking me down, where I just hold space and just say,
Mhm.
"You
Mm.
brave little soldier coming in, knowing what you were facing, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you've had to have this experience, but thank you so much for coming in. And we are all working to raise that level of energy so that we're bringing healing for all, and that it
Mhm.
is possible. I do
Mhm.
feel that everything is possible. So not to get concerned too about, oh, but oh, these choices I've made in my life. And it's like, okay, but now, this is the now moment. What are we going to do about it now?
Mhm. 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 It's I always think about the stars too, like they're shining no matter whether it's rainy or sunny. Like we only see them and we don't see them very much, right? A lot of city dwellers hardly ever see a star anymore. And I think that there's something about when we actually lived under the stars, we felt so much more connected to our intergalactic families. And I believe that people had natural intergalactic encounters more frequently when we weren't as polluted with light pollution and noise pollution and all of the pollutions. And, like you look up in the star sky now and you see all these like satellites maneuvering around, and it's very disorienting. It's like this, there's something, I want to say there's something almost like we're craving a raw, natural connection
Mm,
to our relationship to the stars. And one way to achieve that is to form a relationship with the starry skies,
mm,
to actually take an interest in going and looking at observatories and going, there's darkness zones on the planet. Interestingly enough, there is one in a portion of Alberta, Canada, has a darkness zone, and people come from all over the world. Astronomers come to look at the night sky. And to me, it's like, let's begin with where we've always been, which is in phenomenal interconnection
mm.
with Star Nation, right? We are from there and we return there and we are one. Like Earth is a Star Nation planet. So it's not like it's a separate thing out there and they come in
Mm.
to visit us. It's a frequency that's here with us always. We're it's always been here. The crop circle phenomena and stuff like that.
Yeah,
This is just
it is.
the latest version of something that's been around for eons. Look at the Nazca lines. I mean, look at all the phenomena on
Yeah,
this planet
yeah,
and tell me we haven't been interconnected with
yeah.
extraordinary intergalactic energies for a very long time. And I think that the technology originally was very heart centered. I think that we could just literally speak to them and, have them show up in our dreams, in our
Mm,
waking lives, even. So, what we're actually craving more than a massive disclosure event that, is featured at the Pentagon or something. I think what we're craving is to feel connected again to our history and our massive universal family of light, you know? So let's connect.
mm,
Let's
mhm.
let's just start connecting and ask beautiful questions about, you know,
Well,
historical,
and
like, yeah, go
I
ahead.
well, just yes, please. I wanted you to finish your thought as well, but I love that we're reconnecting with some of the ancient wisdom, and even when we talk about old Earth, Tartaria or Tartaria,
Mhm.
however you
Yes.
pronounce it, and
Yeah.
it's like all of the tech there that was so or less invasive, less EMFs, and getting back to that, and rediscovering.
Yes.
But also at the same time, I'm seeing that Crystal pointed out a question for us. Thank you, Crystal. That Maria posted. Question: is a lack of oxygen from lowering CO2 levels causing part of our severe fatigue? And as we walk this day-to-day 3D to
Mm.
5D transition that we're in, yes, that is something I know I've heard a lot about. I'm sure you have, and faced myself, the
Mm.
fatigue levels. Though that's a real thing. We are doing the work on a day-to-day basis, and we do need to recharge and go to places like Vedette Lake and have amazing reconnection experience, or standing on the earth, holding our crystals, loving our pets.
Mm. Mhm.
Yes.
Interesting. This is a powerful question about oxygen.
Mhm.
Would you pull on it too,
Yes,
Anita?
I'm
Oh,
just
look.
shuffling here.
Okay.
And so what do you, oh yeah, you got the medicine
Well,
man showing up.
I had the medicine man devil there.
Mhm.
And I think you're really onto something. I mean, we're talking elements today, right? We're talking
Yes.
earth and water, and now we're talking air.
Well, right. And how are we getting back connected? These are the, again, going from, it's important to zoom out and feel into a big picture, but then zoom back in. What are we doing moment to moment in each now moment? What are our daily practices that are helping inner disclosure that we then, as radio antennas, emit from us, so that others that don't even know where ideas come from, like the macaque monkeys starting to wash on one island, and as the study
Mhm.
goes, and then they're washing, all of a sudden they're washing their food on other islands, and they're on separate islands they haven't met. It's an energetic frequency that gets emitted when we do the work. We benefit ourselves, but we benefit everyone around us. We benefit the planet as the our community of energy comes together here, this virtual community, and then how we can find people in our local areas. Yeah, there's just so much to, oh, I got, yeah, love and accept yourself is one of the cards I pulled. So,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And
well,
yeah, you pulled a lot of amazing, powerful cards there. Strength and guidance, showing how we're held. And here's like, oh, if we can see that it's like, a great spirit holding, like literally holding in our arms, the universes.
mhm.
Yeah, it's like going big to small, when you look at a tree, or and you can and zoom in and zoom out, amazing videos that there are, to like a tiny blood vessel within us, and then it looks like trees and roots, and then you zoom out, and then you see a tree does the same thing, and then you see the river systems, the water systems do that when you zoom out on the planet. I just feel like we're reflections of that, the Fibonacci um numbers, the sequences and patterns that are within everything that is life. So,
Totally. Totally. And if I haven't mentioned recently, please book a session with this wonderful lady. She is amazing. And you can see that coupon code below, Anita25, get 25% off a session with her if you purchase it before the end of June, which is just what, like just over 10 days, 12 days from now. And you can schedule that session anytime in the weeks and months ahead. So I'm just so delighted to have you here
thank you
today,
so
Anita.
much.
And next week, we've got a really special thing in store for all of you. It's going to be a round table with all three of us, Anita, myself, and Crystal. We're all going to
Mhm.
be on the live. We're all going to be pulling cards and discussing things. So bring your big questions to us next week, folks. There'll be three minds and hearts working on dowsing and divining
Mm.
insight for all of you. So, okay, I felt suddenly it was so interesting when you talked about the oxygen and the CO2 levels, and I just suddenly felt like I'm an air sign, and all of a sudden I felt my lungs just go like, like holding my breath. And then I was like, oh, interesting. There's practices around holding our breath. And there's even like high altitude regions of the planet where spiritual, like a lot of spiritual enlightenment happens on the mountains, right? People will go into the high altitude where there's very little oxygen because it does something to the cells and it changes our frequency. So first hit I got was we are getting attuned somehow to work with oxygen through our systems differently. So that's the first message. Second message, look at all this wood energy, all these wands. 6 of wands is us. 9 of wands, there's that 9 of wands. We are being asked to form a new relationship with the plant kingdom, trees, plants. So again, we're looking at elemental energies here. We're looking at how do we create more oxygen? And we're looking at oxygenating our planet gradually. It's not going to happen overnight, but even I'm hearing oxygenating, reoxygenating the oceans and working with things like ozone. I just feel like there's a lot of intelligent response. And once we start working with the plant life, including trees and other types of plants, the next thing that's going to need attention is the mineral and the soil, because the soil and mineral content and toxicity levels in soil are really quite extreme at this time. So in the solving of, like, is this what's making us tired? Yes, most likely it is. And yet the solution is, it's almost like we're going to look back maybe a couple of 100 years from now and say, well, it was worth it that we had such a clear message that we needed to reoxygenate the planet. And it forced us to take some very practical action to regenerate soil, plant varieties of species that are natural to an environment, not just plant random, tree, like, what is it? They call them industrial forest, right? Just row upon row of like trees that are just going to be harvested for pulp or whatever. It's like, no, if we actually replant our natural world, the natural kingdom, with, beautiful species that are indigenous to a region, and bring back the wealth and the health of the indigenous species of different regions, and, replenish the soil, we're going to have, it could be so different in a very, very short period of time. Like even 50 or 60 years, it could be like a whole new planet here, truly. So yes, we are being affected, but we're also being, like, in a way, expanded because of it.
You're reminding me of Wangari's trees in Kenya. I don't know if you know the story, but it was deforested there and caused droughts and loss of water. And one woman, Wangari, just started a small grassroots movement of planting trees and changed the entire ecosystem over time when everyone got on board. And, anyone can look this up, right? This is Wangari in Kenya. And
Beautiful.
yeah, so these things are happening. We can finding what our little intuitive hits are guiding us to do, trusting that one person does have a lot of power, a lot of energetic sway in the universe, and that we are in. And connecting with what you were saying about the oxygen levels as you were talking, it was like, oh, they're just showing me that oxygen levels were higher in the past, And I believe that there is even scientific articles that you can see on evidence of that, and some things that had to shift over time, varying like, so some things that had to go underground because it was too much oxygen, or and these things have shifted
Mm.
over time, different life on the planet. But what I've seen in my research about Tartaria is that um, indications that we were larger, and because Tartarian doors are often very large, or if people don't feel like, well, is that we, or giants, though, that we have mythology around giants, but with
Mhm.
these large doors, are people puzzled about building pyramids? Not only is that different practices that since squashed, like using magnetic resonance. There's so many things that we can get into that, on a small scale, you can see how you can use magnets to lift a small stone. So if you really use magnetic resonance, you can use that as transport as well. But
Mhm.
if people were larger, or we had giants, however you want to look at it, um, then that was what the oxygen th- was allowing us to do. And even the trees
Mhm.
were so large, more like in the movie Avatar, that
Mm.
there's evidence in a lot of those, in that research and videos around Tartaria, that the trees were so big that now they're plateau mountaintops. Very famous one in Australia that everyone knows, and I can't remember the name, but the tabletop it's known as, even though that's not the official name, that they're saying this is actually petrified wood, and that's how large the trees were at yeah, and that there
Wow.
was so much more oxygen because of that, and that was part of what needed to be taken down, along with all the other evidence. You can still find video clips on how we had electricity in world fairs, uh, before it was supposed to be everywhere. How was that happening?
Mhm.
Like that, and that's
Mhm.
not even going as far back as Tartaria. So that's in our, 100 plus years ago. You can
Mhm.
see how everything was shut down and taken away from us. And also, when uh, oxygen came up, and breathing practices, I've been working a lot lately with Wim Hof and the Wim Hof method. For years, I've been trying to make sure I have, take cold plunges, hot, cold showers, and I say hot, cold because I can't do straight up cold like the amazing Wim Hof does, who never gets sick, by the way. Um, and so ice plunging, but breathing and helping,
Yes.
help that ties into working heart math work, but with breath work and just expansion,
Mm.
getting more oxygen. We have the ability at this moment. Breathe deeply, expand your belly, expand your lungs, send it
Mhm.
to your head. We can oxygenate our bodies even more now. And that can help with the fatigue levels that we might be experiencing now, but also to allow for more oxygen to come in, allow us to that expansion, or this energetic connection. As we've talked about before, this creating this vessel that can hold the new energies.
Yes. Yes. And so many of our questions today have brought us to this, beautiful natural conclusion of how we have these restorative technologies inside of us and
Mhm.
access to so much incredible information. And, it's interesting as a final thought on my end, and then I'll ask you your final thoughts, Anita. I woke up this morning and I was just tuning in to the day and to knowing that I was doing 2 lives this morning. And what I got as a major message for all of us was, you know, with all of our focus on the cabal and the power dominant control models and all the deception and all the corruption and exploitation of humanity and so on and so on. And we've really done our research and we've really done our homework and we've ingested all of this very, very, very disturbing, challenging information and somehow managed to hold it and transmute it enough to come back to our hearts like miracle
Mhm.
workers.
Mm,
Five
mhm.
tens to everybody out there. And so here we are at this juncture, and it's like, who's thinking about the future? Like, I feel like us, our minds and hearts, the creative souls, the imagination, the expansion, the ascending, fast evolving beings that we are, like, let's turn our attention to building, to restoring, to re-engaging in a new way with life. And, you know, we've had the courage to stand in the storm. Let's see the storm pass in our own personal lives, and let's start going out and, like you were saying, let's go out and plant. Let's start going out and looking for solutions and looking for ways to reimagine and re-energize ourselves and the planet. You know, it's okay. Let those things, I was shown like 5 years ago, when a lot of this craziness really amped up, I was shown that the all of what's going on with the dark force kind of going through its death throes, it just needs to be treated like a big giant hornet's nest that came down in a tree that fell on your lawn. You're just going to give it a wide berth. If you go in and start pouring gasoline and trying to blast it apart, it's just going to be such a chaotic mess. Just give it a wide berth and cultivate the rest of your lawn and garden, and just leave it alone. Eventually it'll just deteriorate of its own accord. And if we keep focusing on it, in a way, we're stimulating it. So let's turn our attention away as much as we can and start to imagine what the rebuild looks like. That's my final.
Love it. Love it. Agreed. I almost don't want to add anything, because it's just such a beautiful place to sum up. But I will say, I will address because what right away being shown is we get into the but you know, I still have family or friends who are so caught up in the hornet's nest. And, well, you know, we can hold energetic space for them as they entangle and enmesh themselves with all of that confusion that's very intentionally created to divide and keep people distracted and out of their inner self, out of checking in with themselves and connecting with the elements. It's got them just, it's just got them locked up, imprisoned. And so when we hold space, it's like, hello, freedom over here. Come, you know, like, come stick your toes in the sand with me. Come be in joy with me. Feel this beautiful energy. Don't allow that to be the biggest, most important thing, that hornet's nest. Create your own space, even if you still believe in the hornet's nest. And I'm meaning for those that are loved ones who are. It that takes time. There's a reason why you know, we have the sayings around it. People don't want to have that disrupted. I can't remember the quotes at this moment. I'm thinking Mark Twain has one of them, but it's this, you know, people are too invested in the programming they've received, the hornet's nest that supports them, or they feel they have the illusion of that is their world, when it's like, no, you can step away from that. Have it not be your world. That isn't reality. That is the matrix. And we can step out of the matrix.
Yes. And what a huge world awaits us outside of it. I mean, even just in information, like, you know, we are rich in information. Our forefathers would have, like, I don't know what they would have done. Something pretty incredible to have access to even a smidgen fraction of the information we have literally at our fingertips. Anything you want to learn about. Regenerative agriculture, alternative building, off-grid this and that, like, you know, set up your own microhydros, like, probably build your own free energy device. Like, I mean, you name it, we can learn about it now. We can at least dip our toes in the water and start going, wow, and that our imaginations can be lit up day and night with all these new innovative, some of them old Tartarian technologies re-emerging. Like, wow, it's just rich, rich, rich. That is wealth, folks. That's wealth. Right
And
there.
research the amazing discoveries made by children. There's information on it out there. There's and later, like into the teens, into the youth, the discoveries they've made around creating electricity when they have nothing. Or there was a later teen years person that created something that ate plastics in the ocean. You know, I've seen a lot of little information come through over time, and just like what you're saying, Ashala, the information is out there if we dig for it. Not everything's making the news because those things raise our vibration, and the news traditionally has been meant to lower the vibration, keep everyone that low hum.
So we raise our vibration, folks. I invite you all, let's open our arms wide and pull in all the miraculous frequency energy that's available to us at this moment and bring it into our hearts. And thank you for joining us here. It's always special. And I just feel like these are getting so supercharged, these lives. Like, woo!
Yes, agreed. Let's get excited.
Let's get excited. I look forward to sharing with all of you and with Anita and Crystal next week. And as I said, please, like, share, and subscribe. By the way, I never remembered to my own horn there, but please do that. And we look so forward to seeing you here next week. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Have a beautiful solstice.